Hi, this is Bits and Pieces, the official podcast of Component Supply. I'm Kristin.
And I'm Mark.
And today we're going to be talking about a product category that maybe you don't think of Component Supply when you think of this product category, but we have it. A lot of it. And it's the one that we get the most questions on. Mm-hmm. So what is it?
Well, you said we had to talk about fittings today.
Yeah, we have to.
No, this is a good podcast. We get a lot of questions about fittings. This is a way to be a resource, so this is a good topic.
Yeah. If you're going to be a resource, you have to talk about everything that you sell on your online store. Yes. So we're just going to go down the list. But no, fittings, seriously, I truly believe that we are doing the heavy lifting for some of the fittings manufacturers out there. They don't know it.
No.
But it's because in the very early stages of R&D, we are the ones that get the crazy questions. Mm-hmm. And so we have done probably more internal training on fittings than any other category, even though it's maybe not the most popular. We're not a manufacturer of it. We don't fabricate it. We're not an injection molder, but we do supply fittings because they complement so many of our tubing product lines. So of course, people have questions about them, how they connect. And so internally, my team, sales and customer service and support, when I ask them, okay, what areas of improvement do you need in your training? What areas do we need to focus on to make sure that you're prepared to answer customer questions? It's always fittings, almost always. And so we've spent a lot of time there. For those of you who do follow us on social media, you might have seen a post a couple months ago where we did a Wednesday at 8 internal training on fittings, and we lined up our house plants and divided our people into groups, and they each got to pick different tubing and fitting combinations in order to water our office plants, as if it could help.
It didn't help.
They still died, but that's okay. We had fun doing it. We've done, a bucket of water and creating an assembly, a leak-proof assembly to get, the water through tubing and through a syringe, into another bucket.
One bucket
So they become very hands-on since we have pretty good foundation of fittings at this point. But they started with a Fittings 101 class that you had during our Wednesday at 8, where we all arrive, and the very first thing you say is, it's not about the fittings.
It's not about the fittings.
And we kind of look at each other and are like, what is this going to be about? Why? We need to know about the fittings. Why is he saying it's not about the fittings? So why? Why is it not about the fittings when people are asking me questions about the fittings?
Well, it's not. At first off, that reference came from a video that you can find if you were to go on YouTube or whatever and just type in, it's not about the nail.
Thank you for not saying the YouTube.
You're welcome. I'm learning. I know it's YouTube. It's the Google that you search. It's YouTube that you just go to. So it's not about the nail. It's got, this poor woman's got a nail in her head, and she's right in the middle of her head, and she's talking about, how she always has a headache, and her sweaters are always snagged, and there's all this pressure, and the poor person next to her is, kind of like, you have a nail in your head, she's irritated. It's not about the nail. Like, stop trying to fix the problem. So that was what that came from. It's not about the nail. It's not
it
about
really
the fitting.
is how our customers respond, though. They're like, no, I need this fitting, and we're like,
or this fitting isn't working.
This fitting isn't working. They're fixated on the fitting. So we used to fixate on the fitting.
We did.
Until you told us it's not about the fitting.
It's not about the fitting.
So what's it about?
Yes. So this is the trick, right? It's really about the fitting is the solution. I've got two different products on whatever those are, a tubing on this side, tubing on this side. I've got a tank on this side, or a piece of equipment and tubing, a syringe, whatever that is on either side. Mm-hmm. And the fitting that goes in the middle, that's the solution. What happens is, regardless of industry, you'll go out and you're trying to accomplish something. And so you have these things on either side. You're trying to connect them. You didn't even buy them from us, and then you have a fitting that you didn't buy from us. But now all of a sudden they don't go together. And the problem looks like the fitting is the problem, because you're stuck with this piece of equipment. You're stuck with whatever's on this side.
So I must need a different fitting
so
if this
fitting
one
is the problem. And so rather than saying, wait a minute, there's a solution. My problem is I have this, and I need them to talk to each other. I need them to connect. What is the fitting or the solution for that? And so guiding them to understand, hey, this thing that you've got in your head, that's not the problem.
Right.
Like, we're going to find the solution let's focus on the problem.
So whenever they call us or message us or send us a drawing, or, our question always, if you ask component supply a fittings question, it might seem ridiculous, but we are always going to ask, what tubing are you trying to connect with? What tubing are you working with? Because it's from there that we can give the best support, the best answers, depending on that. So now it becomes a tubing episode a little bit, because we have to talk about tubing to talk about the fittings.
Right.
And so tubing is a really big world. We don't sell every single tubing that there is, but we can probably divide it into a few categories. So starting with like the soft, flexible tubing world, we're talking about PVC-based tubings. We're talking about Tygon tubing or silicone tubing. So those are all these soft, flexible types. So once we know that they're trying to connect a soft, flexible tube, we're going to advise them.
We know we're moving into the barb fitting category. So those tubings really are designed to work with barb fitting. So a mechanical connection with the ID of the tube, and then it's about whittling down to what ID they have. Hopefully they know what the inside diameter is. Generally, it's a fractional size, and so then we can start steering them towards the right size. The right size tubing. We'll deal with materials afterwards.
So we're a great place to start, because most of not the stainless, but the other materials, polycarbonate, polypropylene, nylon, you can buy a pack of 10 pretty reasonably to try and figure out what you need. Try it a few times. But that's a really easy connection, right? Because you're just slipping tubing over a barb.
Yes.
So that's the first step, is clear the flexible soft tubing. We're going to direct you to a barb fitting. Now, we have a little bit of custom work. I say we're not a manufacturer, but we have seen some needs as far as customers maybe needing a custom fitting, but it's not really cost effective because their volumes aren't really high, but they need it for, a microbore tubing. So we've come up with a solution that we do. We have some in stock.
Yes.
Can we talk about this?
So that the barb fitting world, generally we're dealing with something that's like an injection molded product. And when you get down to those micro bore sizes, they don't build molds and have an injection mold process to create fittings for that size tubing. So we kind of made a combination of an injection molded product and a stainless product that would work with those different inside diameters. Because now you went to, instead of a fractional, now you're down to a 10 thousandths or 20 thousandths ID tubing that just doesn't fit. It's still the same principle. It's still if you want barb in the sense that it's a barb fitting because it's a mechanical connection to the inside diameter of tubing. I think technically we should just call it a barbless barb fitting, because it really is just a tubing port. But that's not an uncommon in that world. That's not an uncommon connection type. Is a port, an ID port type fitting.
So those work with what tubing?
So that would work with. There are a number of manufacturers out there for like small diameter or micro bore silicone tubing. It would work with Tygon has a product. They call it their microbore tubing line. I think it's an ND80-100 or something like that. That has they're usually very limited numbers of sizes. So you have a 10 thousandths, a 20 thousandths, 30 thousandths, 40 thousandths, and 50 thousandths ID tubing. Most of the time, somewhere along the way, it's going to deal with some sort of French catheter size.
Gotcha.
So that's...
Yeah, so, and these are nice. When we talk about, it's custom, it's not custom for component supply. We have standardized the item. It's on the website. You can buy one, see if it works, buy more of them, So that's a great solution. So we've dealt with kind of the soft, flexible tubing. We've dealt with the barb side. What about the lure side?
So lures kind of throw everybody off a little bit, because lure only connects to lure. You have two options. You have a male and a female lure. They're only going to connect each other. Generally, you're looking at, I have a syringe on one side, or I have a piece of equipment that has a lure connection, and then on the other side, I have something. I have maybe another lure fitting, or maybe I have a flexible tubing or something like that. So you'd end up with a lure to barb or a lure to lure. But that's a lot easier than people make it because you just have one there's just two options,
Right.
male or female, and they're gonna connect each other, and then you're dealing with whatever tube or tank or syringe is on the other side of that.
Right. Okay, so we have soft flexible tubing. We have also metal tubing. We get into that world. And so we have some annealed tubing that we deal with. There are other tubing that we don't have. We do have hypodermic tubing. We're going to talk about that separately. So if we're just talking about non-hypodermic tubing, metal tubing,
Right.
we're going to direct the customer to what?
So this is in the world of fractional metal tubing. We're going to direct them to an instrumentational compression fitting. So these are high pressure fittings.
They're based in fractional sizes.
These are based in fractional sizes. We don't stock them in metric, but they are stocked in metric in the world. But we stock them in fractional sizes. I think we only have 3 sizes: 16th, 8th, and quarter. But I mean, the world gets big. They've got 3 or 4 inch, compressed. They've really large
Huge.
compression.
Yeah.
They're not for us, but they are out there.
So if you're dealing with fractional tubing, you can work with the stainless steel compression fitting. No adjustments needed. Now, if you're dealing with hypodermic tubing, those sizes do not work with standard compression fittings.
That's right. So in that world, those fittings, like the barb fittings, are meant to work with the tubing's inside diameter. The compression fittings are based around the tubing's outside diameter. So if I have a fractional stainless tubing with an 1/8 inch outside diameter, I can go get an 1/8 inch compression fitting, and it will meet up. It will mate up perfectly. That's what it's designed for. And you can follow that through 16th, quarter. You match the tubing and the fitting. Now, all of a sudden, I come to a hypodermic tubing that has a outside diameter of 42 thousandths, and that's not a fraction.
Right.
So now we're moving to a situation where we have to create, and the way we did that is we made a ferrule. So we take the ferrule that comes in the compression fitting and replace it with one that has a hole that's drilled to match that hypodermic tubing
We
size.
custom drill these.
We custom drill that for those hypodermic tubing sizes, all the sizes.
Right. And so those are all listed on the website. We do, they're not necessarily in stock because we drill them to order, but we ship them in a day or two. It's not an exorbitant wait time.
Yes.
Or lead time for those. But again, not necessarily a custom fitting, but a custom support for using hypodermic tubing in a standard compression fitting.
Right, and it's not a huge world that uses it, but there's a lot of times in applications where moving out of a standard plumbing circuit into a hypodermic tubing size makes a lot of sense. Whether that's in chromatography is where it started, but even in just distribution in very specific amounts, hypodermic tubing with various IDs allow you to put various drop sizes on things. And so moving out of a standard fractional into the hypodermic tubing size makes sense. Yeah. This makes that very, very easy.
So we have a similar option for PTFE tubing, even though PTFE is very different. The challenge is different than hypodermic tubing. We still have ferrules that help us make that
process.
Connection.
Yes.
Tell us about that, why that's important for PTFE tubing.
So PTFE, has a lot of different, has some far-reaching, applications people consider. One of them that I like to just jump into that is not really considered, but printers, for example. You've got these huge printers that are running ink, different colors of ink, and if you are running, if you're going to change your ink out or change colors, now all of a sudden you really don't want residual in those tubes, and so PTFE is a really good solution for the printing industry. The problem is there's no way to really connect that well.
Right.
They make flare kits, and it's not that it's complex, it's just you have to know how to do that.
Right.
So we created a ferrule that would, again, work with these PTFE tubing sizes with an insert. Again, the compression model still works. And it's a little easier to use to be able to incorporate that into a standard plumbing circuit. And so that's one area, but it allows now PTFE, those AWG size tubing, which is really for like the American wire gauge. Now it can jump into lots of different areas.
So about 8 years ago, we made some instructional videos for using.
You did awesome.
That was when, am I allowed to say that? When component supply was a resume filler.
Yeah, no, well, you did say it, so.
No, but it was when I first started and, we were trying to figure out, like, how can we help, researchers, and we were getting all these questions, and we're finally like, we need to just make a video so we can show them how it works. And so we still have people watching those videos. Our customer service and support team still sends those videos along, and we're back to podcast. So now I'm back.
But even so, I mean, here talking about it, you can't really explain it as well as you showed it in those videos.
Yeah, and they're short, really short videos to kind of help you put those things together. Okay, so finally. We have sometimes, we want to talk about the fittings that we don't have. Sometimes you talk about we're a resource for R&D because we sell the stuff that other people don't need, but sometimes we honestly don't sell the things that people need. So what are some other solutions out there? Maybe we have access to them through special order. Maybe we'll stock them someday. But what are some fittings options that could meet some challenges that people have?
I think it's good to know about all the options that are out there, even if it's not something that we have. There are push to connect fittings. Mm-hmm. So you see these a lot in the food and beverage industry. Mm-hmm. They're not really quick disconnect, but you can quickly put them together. A lot of pneumatic and air supply lines use those fittings. Along with kind of the compression side, there's a flare fitting. You see these a lot in your houses with faucet fixtures and things like that. Those are worth knowing that they exist, because sometimes that can be a good solution.
Right.
And so those are two that come to the top of my head.
So if you have any questions about fittings, whether you see it on our website or not, when you're looking through our product drop down, you'll see a lot of different options for fittings, specialty fittings, lure fittings, barb fittings, and you'll see kind of the subcategories there. One of the ones we're really excited about, we just added a line of check valves.
Yes.
And we have some of them up here, not that you can see them from where you are, but we'll do a breakout episode of these. But we're really excited about these. They're high flow, they're medical grade. I'm really excited to add these. And so we'll go more into depth. Do you have anything you want to add about those?
No, this is exciting. The check valves are something that I've always said we should have some of these. When these came about, the fact that they're low pressure to open, they are high flow, meaning that this has some applications that are far reaching. Their Resinex is the manufacturer. Their focus is medical device, which we support, right. But we also move into lots of different areas, and so I'm excited to have this. I think of several applications I worked on in the past with even in agricultural and aquacultural industry that I think could benefit from this.
Sure.
And so I'm excited to see this get in the hands of product designers in other industries, not just the medical device. It obviously has a place there. But in other industries as well.
And we're not adding new product lines all of the time. It's got to be the right fit for component supply.
We're pretty picky when we add new
We're pretty
products.
Picky. We're a stocking distributor. We've got to have it. We've got to have it in stock. It's got to be accessible for R&D.
It's got to be a good manufacturer.
It's got to be a good manufacturer. Yeah. We've got to feel good about it. And so when we do add one, it's a big deal. It's exciting.
Yes.
We're all on board. We've enjoyed
this is an awesome group of people.
Awesome group of people. A lot of commonalities between our businesses and how we want to get components in the hands of people who need them and expand reach. So it's really exciting to be a part of. It's always an honor when a supplier, lets us be part of.
Oh yes, for sure.
Of their market, and so we're thrilled about that. So you can buy component supplies offering fittings right online. They ship the same day if you place your order by 2 p.m. We're excited to continue to figure out what you need. Maybe we need to add lab kits for these. We've talked about doing that before. So if you have any suggestions or questions, please let us know. We'd love to help you find solutions for your fittings and connectors, even though it's not about the fitting.
It's not about the fitting.
It's about the nail. Just kidding. So thank you for listening to our podcast. Hope you'll check back soon for another episode in just a couple weeks, another fittings one. And now go change the world.